What's up, everyone? Kevin Leslie, and new episode of the At the Thousand Training Podcast, solo edition. And today we're going to talk about summer programs for high school rowers. And before we get to that, I'm going to release a full kind of breakdown in my next newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, go to my website, right? Link should be below. I think as soon as you click onto it, right, it should have a pop up, right? Subscribe to that newsletter. I send out a couple, I think twice a month, where hopefully it provides some value to someone out there. And if it doesn't pop up, as soon as you get to the website, you can scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a spot where you can type in your email. So I'll be releasing a newsletter that pertains to summer programs here, in the next couple of days. But let's talk about a little bit today, right? So a little bit of a, just a conversation about, okay, are summer programs important for high school athletes? Which, yeah, I think so, right? I think that's an easy one. But I think it's dependent on an individual's goals. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? You're just, for high school athletes, right? You're just closing out a spring season, championship racing season, depending on the competitiveness of your program. There are different degrees of intensity that you were doing, right, for your entire spring season. So I think that's a factor that you weigh in, right? And then there's also, okay, what kind of programs am I looking for? Am I looking for something that is competitive? Am I looking for something that provides race experience? Am I looking for something that provides an awesome experience in itself, right? Or exposure to a new environment. So I think those are some of the things that athletes should start to reflect on for them individually prior to making a decision about, okay, this is the best program out there, because really I don't believe there is a one program that fits all. There definitely isn't. But with that, right, so thinking about the summer, understanding your goals, understanding what you're hoping to accomplish, and then doing your research and finding the program or programs, which we'll talk about, that best suits you. And as we get into it, I like to break summer rowing into three categories, right? Three categories for picking a summer program. You have, right, in those three categories, right, you have your racing / competitive programs, right? These are the ones where you're probably in some kind of racing boats. It's probably, a couple weeks long. You're gearing up for a summer racing series, right? You might be going to whatever it's called now, right? Club nationals or, summer nationals, then maybe going up to Canadian Henley. The experience is probably competitive, maybe eights, selection, training twice a day for the purposes of producing fast boats to go and potentially win races. The second piece is a training / development program, right? Where, okay, I am trying to go here to better position myself on the recruiting front. I'm going here to learn how to train at a higher level. I'm going here to really find or narrow down or focus on rowing technique. Maybe I'm getting into small boats. I'm really getting granular with my stroke, where it's a low stakes. I'm not thinking about racing. I'm purely thinking about my development as a rower. I think that's an important piece, right? So that training / development. And then the last category that I would say, again, there's subsets to each of these categories, right? Subcategories. But the last one is your experience / exposure category. And these are the camps that are, maybe they're a week long or 2 weeks long, right? Maybe a little bit of a shorter window than some of the previous ones, which are maybe, 3 to 5 weeks. These ones are probably a week long or maybe 2 weeks long. But this is where I would put some of those experience camps, right? Maybe you're going overseas and doing one of those programs that are out there, right? We're getting to experience a new place, right? A new environment. I would also lump in campus programs, right? College programs, right? I guess that's what we call it, right? College camps, right? Where you're getting exposure to a campus, right? You're getting exposure to college or university boathouse, right? All these different things. So those are kind of the three categories that I would place camps into. And again, there's crossover between them, right? And full disclosure, right? I've only worked at so many of these camps. I've only heard about so many of these camps. So that's where you do your research. You do the legwork to kind of figure out which of those categories it falls into. But again, competitive / racing, training / development, and then experience / exposure. Those are the three categories, broad categories, that will lump a lot of these summer programs into. So now, okay, racing / competitive. Let's bring it all the way back to the top, right? What are some of the things that I like, or I'm going to kind of break it down where it's like I have a few things that I really like about these camps, and I have one thing that maybe you might be missing out on at these camps, right? So racing / competitive camp, right? Lots of racing experience. We talked about these a little bit before, right? So it might be a little redundant, but lots of racing experience, right? You're going out to, switches, trying to put together fast dates, learning how to race. You might be getting the opportunity to row in different boat classes, right? Maybe you're doing a lot of racing, maybe some in 8s, some in 4s, maybe even you're doing a little bit of sculling, which is awesome. And the last piece is you kind of feel like you're a part of a team at these programs, right? I know a lot, and again, I'm going to kind of not dive into specific camps here for respect to those programs and those camps, but you feel like you're part of a team. You feel like you're part of a community, right? You kind of have, okay, you're going to the line with this whole new group of athletes that even though, yeah, they're not your high school program, you guys have, competed enough in your environment where you probably feel quite connected to these other members of your team, right, in the boat. So I think that's a very important piece. The area where I think the racing / competitive camps lack might be, or not lack, but where it's not their primary focus is, okay, they're doing a lot of practice and racing and pieces, but they might not get into real training. It might be a lot of rowing, a lot of competing, a lot of switches and competitiveness and learning how to piece and do all these other, really fun water workouts, but they might not have a segment that's dedicated purely towards training and, just development. So again, it depends on the program. It depends on the camp. I think a lot of them are trying to kind of get you geared up to race at Summer Nats, Club Nats, whatever it's called, Canadian Henley. And through that process, you're going to be doing a lot of rowing, a lot of racing, but there might be that segment where maybe you aren't doing as much in terms of strength training or erging or cross training, this and that, right? It's all about producing fast lineups to a degree. Again, respect to those programs. The reason I think that could be problematic to some is if you're coming off a very, very competitive, long spring season, think about it. Long spring season going all the way till youth Nats, and then you're loading up and getting right back into a very competitive program, where you're trying to go back into more race experience. And then you're taking a little break and then you're going right back into the fall where it's, again, you're gearing up for all the fall races and right back into a boat. Where's the opportunity to do one of two things? One could be relax, chill out, regroup, recalibrate. And then the other one is, and I think this is where I would lean more towards, where's the opportunity to work on some of your weaknesses or work on your fitness or work on just pure athletic development so that your body is prepared to handle a competitive spring and a competitive fall, right? Some people need that window in the summer to, I think, focus on training, right? Or just not even training, development of who they are as an athlete, as a person, right? So again, I don't throw around burnout lightly, but if you're doing competitive spring, competitive summer, right into a competitive fall, you just may feel a little bit, it's a lot of rowing, it's a lot of racing. But again, amazing opportunity for many, right? Second piece, training / development, right? I think, okay, one of the really positive pieces of this is, okay, focusing on growth, focusing on development as an athlete. Could be purely rowing technique, right? You're getting out in a single and you're really learning how to fine tune your craft without the pressures of racing or team, whatever. Like you can really get fine tuned and into your specific goals, right? Or how you row the stroke, right? Or how you move the boat, right? You could even have a private coach, right? Or maybe it's one coach to 3 boats, whatever it may be. And you can get really technical with how you row. The other piece is, okay, maybe it's more of a training focused camp, right? You can get very focused on your development with your fitness, your development with your strength, with your, just overall athletic development. And again, you're getting kind of, when you focus on training and development, you get this more, right? One of these programs, you get this more individual focus, but within a group setting, right? Where you can kind of focus on fitness or strength or training at, whatever degree, or rowing technique, or, taking out small boats, but it's not, attached to a racing season, right? You can kind of take a step back and focus on you and your growth, but hopefully you have a coach and some people that can help support you in that growth. The negative to that is you don't get that race experience. You don't get that, opportunity to go to the line and learn how to put all this training and all this practice into racing opportunities, right? So I think that's one of the negatives where, okay, like you may be just training, you may be just working on technique, but where's the immediate gratification of, hey, I get to go to the line and compete, right? Which a lot of athletes, that's why they're in this, right? So for those athletes, you have to be really focused on or understand that, okay, this is my focus. My focus is on growth. My focus is on development. My focus is on better positioning my fitness so that, I can do a little bit better on the erg so that I can position myself as a recruit, right? I think that's where a lot of that training and development comes in. The last one is experience and exposure. So I mean experience because, again, I don't know these programs. I know there's a lot of them out there and they sound pretty cool. You can go to some faraway place and row on a, overseas in some beautiful area and beautiful change of scenery. There's a lot of value to that. That's awesome, right? Being able to do that. And probably get a good group of friends for the tour, for the 1 week or 2 weeks that you're over there. Or you're going to some new city in the US that you've never been to. And you get the opportunity to row and be in this awesome, really fun environment. And, again, a little change of scenery. And it's more of like a true quote unquote summer camp kind of thing, right? The focus is not competitive. It's not, on racing. And to be honest, it's not really on training, even though through that, yeah, there'll be some technical coaching and this and that, right? But in 1 week, there's not really enough time to really get to, where that coach to athlete relationship is kind of developed, where they know exactly who you are and exactly how they can help you, right? But you may get 1 or 2 things from some quality coaches at these programs that stick with you for life. Right? So again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know these programs, but that's not their focus, right? Their focus is on that quality of experience. The other piece that I think is, or the other category that goes within the experience and exposure is your university camps, right? Your college camps, which again, I work at one over the summers, right? I've been at the Dartmouth one for 2 years, right? And which has been awesome. It's a fantastic camp. I know that there's a lot of other really awesome ones out there that provide really awesome experiences. But again, they're only a week long, right? So are you going to go there with the expectation that you're going to walk out of there being the fastest rower, that you can possibly can be because you went to this university, no matter how competitive that university is? Probably not, because that's not really the focus. The focus is on a really awesome experience, exposure to a college campus. You get to eat in the dining hall, you get to stay in the dorms, all that fun stuff. And here's what I think is the greatest value from that. There's going to be a lot of really awesome college coaches that are going to be at these camps. And again, it comes back to, okay, they might not have enough time to really develop that relationship with you, but these are some of the voices that are some of the top voices in college rowing, sharing a little bit of specifics about you individually, your boat, or just in general, that again, if they say 1 or 2 things that can really have a positive impact on you, that's worth something, right? So again, is it, again, in 5 days, are you going to become, is it going to be the program that changes your life? Not from a athlete standpoint or a competitiveness standpoint, but you could walk away with 1 or 2 really good things. But with those programs, right, the experience ones and the exposure ones, you're probably going to make a lot of good friends. You're going to have awesome counselors who show you an amazing time. You do all these fun activities, and there's nothing really attached in terms of high volume of training or race expectations, right? It's purely a camp, right? Like an experience, right? A positive experience for you, hopefully, right? So again, I think that's the negative, right? If I kind of, for each one, I kind of provide a negative. It's not going to have a specific goal of race experience or training, which obviously for some might not be what they're looking for, right? They want it somewhere where they can race or at least train, but obviously there's a lot of positives that come with it. So again, those are the three categories. There's going to be a lot, I don't want to make this too long, but there's going to be a lot of crossover between those three categories. But as you do your research, hopefully, again, there's a lot of options out there. You can wrap your mind around, okay, is this a racing / competitive summer program? Is this a training / development program? Or is this an experience / exposure program? And I think once you start to understand that, right, or fit them all into these buckets, as you reflect on what your goals are as an individual, you can make the decision that best serves you, right? You and your family can make a decision, or you could even do a crossover of the few, right? If you look at some of these programs and their last race is summer nationals and the university camp that you want to do is in late July or August or whatever, you may have the opportunity to do both, but then you want to take into account, where's my opportunity for me, meaning to regroup, to recalibrate before my team starts back up in the fall and I'm right back into that grind that I just left in the spring. So again, these are all things to consider because again, every athlete's going to have a different objective for their summer experience. And some athletes, they just want to hammer out meters and get as fast as they can and get as strong as they can. Others want to go to the line and race a lot of times and go down the course and win a bunch of medals, which is awesome. And others just want a really great experience, exposure to a college campus, the opportunity to shake some hands with some college coaches, or to travel somewhere and row in a destination they never thought they would be at, right? So again, a lot of different opportunities out there. Do your research. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I haven't worked at all of them, but I've heard from a lot of people regarding different programs out there. I'm always curious to hear people's reviews of certain programs so that I can deliver that information to some of the other athletes out there. But do your research, figure out what best suits you, what best combination suits you, so that you can have the productive summer that you're hoping for, but also the experience and the fun summer that you're looking for, right? Because that's ultimately the goal, right? You want that opportunity to kind of take a step back and prioritize you and your individual path. So that's all I got. Again, if you want the full write down in my newsletter, go to my website, subscribe. A lot of great stuff in there that I'm delivering probably every other week. Other than that, good luck to all of you who are just kicking off racing season this weekend. I'll be sure to stay tuned and be down at the race course. Other than that, enjoy your day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.